Yeah.
I'm still having a great, yeah, no, it's fine.
All right.
Welcome to Liquid Lunch. We're coming at you live. Well, maybe not live.
You look alive to us.
You know what? We have been having such an amazing conversation that it didn't matter whether we were live or not. We were just having such an awesome conversation.
Yes, we are, because it's less than a month till the Mayan calendar
Yes.
ends, and we've got Franco DeNicola here to share some information that couldn't be shared until this moment. Right, Franco? You said timing is important with this kind of stuff.
It is important, absolutely. And the thing is it up to this moment? I mean, things have been unfolding for a little while now, but look at all the years we haven't been able to be open. We wouldn't be able to even step further. Look at what's happening now with
Yes.
a lot of people that are opening up and sharing stuff coming through the surface that's been, hidden before.
Yeah.
And of course, it's still not in the mainstream yet, because the mainstream is still controlled and limited somewhat. But that is breaking down too, because even the ones that are involved are saying, we're tired of playing this game. Let's get to the nuts and bolts. Let's really understand what we're doing, and instead of looking at the world as the way it is and it has a minuscule amount of change, let's take a look at how we can participate and do something bigger than that.
So we're talking about the shift.
Yes.
Okay, this shift in consciousness. And so what does that really mean in terms of moving into December 21st, which is where that's where the actual crossing the threshold
Yes.
into, more of the fourth dimension kind of energies, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so
I don't even know what that means.
Okay, can
Fourth
you
dimension.
energies, or can you explain a little bit about that, Franco?
Sure, we can. So basically, at this point in time, we're completing our third 5,125-year cycle, and that ends on December 21st, and then we're stepping into a new cycle, completely new cycle.
So, sorry, Franco, so that's about 5,000 years, is it?
5,125.
Okay.
Yes. So we've had 3. This is the tail end of the last one. So we're just saying goodbye to the rest of it right now. We're having our last little dance with it, and it's like the reunion. We can do whatever we want to do at this point in time. This is the age where we had limitations, the age of separation, the age of, where we have played judging, comparing, struggling, competition. We've had feeling that, we're on our own, and the only way we're going to survive is we are the smarter, the better, the stronger, and all that stuff. So we're given a good salute to that. Now, of course, there's people that have already stepped into a consciousness where they're starting to feel oneness with one another. They're starting to see that, hey, we're all the same. We're all part of each other. Not only are we all part of each other, we're also at this time connected with everything around us. So that, now we are creating a stronger connection with the planet, with the animal kingdom. You're making connections with nature itself, the oceanic, everything. But many others are still in the survival, still in the lost state. So to facilitate that, we're going through this change. So what are we looking at? Well, December 21st is the tipping point. Okay? Now, it's been building up for a long time, specifically in the last 25 years. So in the last 25 years, things have changed to perpetuate and create a certain level of preparedness for us to do this. Okay, so we're at the final stretch now.
Now, when you say things have changed in the last 25 years, can you give us some examples of some of the hard changes that have changed? Are you talking about the 3D structures that we have? What kinds of things are we talking about?
Well, a lot of the changes first started off with our inner soul, who we truly are.
Okay.
So we opened that up.
Okay.
So the first thing that happened back in around the end of 1986, the soul has a collective said, okay, we're coming, we have 25 years left, we're going into this shift. This shift requires us to be at a certain stage of consciousness, and a lot of things need to change. We need to start taking off layers and so forth so that we are more prepared and aligned for it.
Okay. I can remember 86, because 86 was the year I came to Toronto, and one of the reasons, there were 2 things that happened that year that were big events. One was the space shuttle blew up, and then Chernobyl happened in the spring of 86. And both of those events did affect me to the point where I said, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do something that I want to do. I'm going to make a big change. So 86 is the year that you said.
Exactly. And that's when the convergence occurred.
I was just, so now, can you talk a little bit about it's the harmonic convergence that they called it?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
So how did that serve in 86?
Well, it actually opened up ourselves to free the soul itself in the patterns that it was locked in.
Okay.
Prior to 86, we had a karmic grid that we followed, which basically in that case, now when you truly understand what karma was all about at that point, it served as not only polarity, but it also served us for variety. Okay. Meaning it wasn't that I play one role in this lifetime and then I'm going to have to pay the price the next time.
Like eye for eye.
Yeah. The karmic debt thing was something that was superimposed on it. Was never the case. The case was if I'm going to play a victimizer in this lifetime, the next life I'm going to experience what it feels like being a victim. That's it. It was just experiencing. Now, there is a certain frequency that the two operate in. And because of its frequency, you're saying, okay, my soul's now connected with all the frequency that's created as the victimizer, and now I'm going to play the victim, for example. So it was just a matter to create a balance, and that was the soul's level of balancing. So I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this.
And that was before 86.
Exactly.
And now, what does that mean after 86?
Well, after 86, basically what's happened, it was cleared up. Okay. So now the soul says, okay, we don't need to play with karma anymore. We need to speed things up. Because what's happening with karma was that if you came in with one side to play, you pretty well played it out for your whole life in that incarnation, basically.
Okay, yes.
Okay? So for you to get out of it, it was a lot harder because you basically had to play out the role until you saturated, and then you kind of opened yourself up to try to play a little bit of the other side. But you weren't really playing the other side, you were playing more neutral in a sense. You know, you weren't so much polarized on one side.
Okay, okay.
Now, but you could see that each incarnation, you were stuck with one pattern.
Okay.
So because we had so much more work to do, the soul wanted to have much more experiences. It's saying, okay, this is slow. Okay, it served for the thousands of years that we played with this, but now we got to take this out of the equation. So what occurred is we take it out of the equation. So now it doesn't matter what you came in with. You're not. The soul is not saying, okay, we need to play it until it's balanced. It's saying, okay, it doesn't matter anymore. We can go wherever you want to. So you may have come in with one role. You can change it any time. You do not need to create a saturation or a certain one polarized experience to intensification before you can switch. So the purpose was that you can now just flow with it. You can play here, 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 here without any being stuck. So that was the first part that changed. So it basically freed us. So anybody that's come in after 86 never came with a karmic aspect of it at the soul level. Anyone that was before 86 may have come in with that, and then at some point it's cleared up. Now,
so does that mean if for all those who came before 86, do we still have to deal with karma in a way? I came before 86. Do we still have to deal with karma in a way that kids who came after 86 don't have to deal? Or was that cleared for us like 86 too?
It was cleared at the soul level, but you know where the trick comes in? Is if you're playing a certain role, and specifically if you played it for a little while longer than 86, you get caught up in a pattern, a mental program. Okay. Because the mind is very powerful. So we believe that I'm a victim.
Okay.
And that says, okay, you're released from it, but you're still, your thought patterns are still reflecting that.
Because you don't really know you're released from, you don't know about this 86 deadline thing. So
you feel it here, but you don't know it here. Yeah. And this part of it is still playing with it. Say, oh, poor me, woe me, look, I get always dumped on and so forth. So if you keep thinking that, you're going to have that experience still playing out, but the soul's saying, we don't need it, we can get out of this anytime.
Yay!
You know, we don't need to. So that's where the difference is.
Okay.
So the longer you've been in it, like if you came in 1982, okay, you've only been 4 years, so you haven't had it really deeply programmed in you. So it's going to be easier to shed. But if you've been here much earlier, as most of us have, then of course you've created a heck of a pattern of it. So it's going to be a little harder. So when people say we're clearing karma, that people still talk about it. It's not at the soul level. We're clearing it here. What we're doing is clearing up our program, that the cycle that we got caught in. Now, it's been 25 years. Okay. Some of us are a little slow. But in general, a lot more people have made the progress in that. Okay. However, people still talk about it. So you know, we're still, if you talk about it, you say, oh yeah, you still got karma, or still whatever. So all you're doing is influencing the mind to believe that you're
so
still
you can
there.
actually set yourself more back into that whole pattern of karma by believing that.
Exactly.
Is that okay? Okay, so
But
that can
that's
be dangerous.
why knowing that it's not there anymore, the soul doesn't require it, and it's only in the mind that we can just
release,
let go.
release.
So that was the first part.
Okay.
The other part was the need to have polarity.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're still living in a polarity world for us, but the soul did not need polarity. That means it's like karma. I'm not playing one role or the other. It doesn't mean that what part that plays in polarity is meaning if we have a really good experience, at some point you're going to feel, oh, something's going to happen. Or if you have a bad experience, then you say, okay, well, I've had all this bad experience, now I'm going to have good experience. It's like the whole idea is, you know, for us to appreciate daylight, we need to have lots of night. If you want to have appreciate sunny, you're going to have you know, rainy days or bad weather.
Yes.
And that's why we appreciate summer, because we have a nice long winter, you know. It's like, oh, I'm out, you know. But that is no longer necessary for us for our own evolutionary aspect of it. And that has been out of the equation too, so that we don't need polarization to move forward. I don't need polarity anymore.
So we can be happy all the time.
You can if you choose to, absolutely, right? Now, and that we're designed to be in a joyful, peaceful state of playfulness, absolutely. Okay. But of course, we're not all the time, because we seem to still believe that we need to play this polarized game. Now that will change now going into 2012, after the convergence, or basically the shift part, because the energy no longer will support duality and polarity and all that stuff to the same degree, where you can get stuck on either side. So that was the other component that shifted in '86. And the other one that changed, there was two other little things real quickly. The other part that changed was the fact that we were no longer hooked up and programmed to a consciousness called the satanic code, which meant was a code of self-destruction, code of consumption, a code where you basically, it's a mind program, it's a consciousness where it's about me, and I consume everything to the point I cannot see that what I'm consuming is facets of me that compromises me eventually.
Okay.
You know, that type of encodement program. So that was in fact, and then the soul says, okay, we so easily can get caught up in this, we're going to pull this out of the equation, we no longer need to have that.
Was that in '86 as well, you said,
yes,
Franco? Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the fourth thing that changed was that we went from just having experiences to come on the planet to experience, to learn, okay, to become enlightened. We took that out and converted it to purge and clear, meaning we're still coming here to experience, but the main mandate is to purge and clear all that no longer serves. So you're purging and clearing everything that you experience in this lifetime, which are lessons and so forth. You're purging and clearing past lifetimes, and you're purging and clearing anything that you've taken on from genetic codes through your parents.
In one lifetime.
In one lifetime, which is
that's a lot.
That exactly. And that was all to accelerate for this preparation. Then, of course, the other thing that happened, which is the fifth component, we went from the 5,100 years being that the planet's vibrational field operating at 7 hertz, now got changed so that it started to increase. So it has been increasing since '86, and now we're almost at 13 hertz, and which is 21st of December, we hit 13 hertz, okay? And that's what is the tipping scale that pushes from a negative, a collective negative frequency to a slightly positive. And that will also now reactivate the oneness consciousness, and that's what we're talking about, fourth dimensional consciousness, because now we've achieved enough frequency for us to allow us to step into that. Now, of course, the souls that are ready will be participating. The planet itself, even though the planet has already been prepared and it is already somewhat emanating it, but it's not fully engaged in it until that point in time. Because again, the planet is still a reflection of us too. It operates through that. Even though it has its own consciousness and it's going through its own purging aspect of it. And the purging, it's not its own purging so much, it's purging the magnetic energies that it has taken in from humanity playing in the polarized world, all the hatred, the killing, all that stuff that has been in the dark, the earth has been like a beautiful sink thing. Okay, I'll take it in, I'll take it in. Now it's saying, okay, I can't hold it any longer because we need to upgrade our frequency, we need to purge it out. So that's why a lot of the natural stuff has been going on, earthquakes and volcanics and also other changes in movement.
So speaking of Earth, and thank you for that amazing summary. That was an amazing summary to bring us to where we are now from 86 to this point. Speaking of the Earth and what she's releasing, I'm going to call her she, Mother Earth. Much of what we're talking about now is releasing the emotions, correct? Releasing the, and it's coming up through physical, but it's my understanding, Franco, and correct me if I'm wrong, okay, but it's my understanding that, you know, when we drill and do all these things to the earth, we're creating a lot of harm. All the chemicals that we're putting in the waters and stuff like that. But that doesn't come close to the killing and the bloodshed and what that kind of buries into the planet. That is far more detrimental to the earth's well-being than what it's like, you know, when you get cut you can heal, but when you get raped or emotionally or mentally hurt, that's far deeper and can leave scars on a far deeper level. Is that correct?
Yes. Now, even when we're doing contaminants, I mean, that affects the planet, but like you said, it's minuscule, but it's the energy, the people that put it while they're doing it, you know, that it creates. Now, when you made a very powerful point there, when the killing and so forth, what's happening, it's happening in very intense emotions. So
fear,
yes, fear, hatred, and you're talking about energies where, you know, you're almost in fury, and of course now you're creating, you know, who's the enemy and all of this. And so that energy is being dissipated, and of course the earth is taking it in, and then it's also locked into the physicalities that are perishing at the same time. And of course, what is it doing? It's returned back to the earth, and the earth is taking it all in. It's taking it all in, and so it's been collecting this for over 10,000 years in that frequency, because this has been going on for 10,000 years. This heavy emotional energies. So it is releasing the emotional energies that are pulled in, and it's also releasing the programs that support it. Because every emotion has a program. Because you can't have an emotional experience without the story, without a program, right? So you can clear the emotion. The beauty of the work that you're doing and everything else is about clearing the emotions. Then you can actually see the program. Because you can't really see the program when you're in an emotional state. Because that
can't see the forest for the trees.
Exactly. Exactly put perfectly. So when you clear that out of the way, then you could see the story. You say, okay, what's the story? And then we clear the story. And so the story is easier to deal when the emotion's not there.
Absolutely. And I mean, we're emotional creatures by nature. So that's kind of like our blessing and curse at the same time.
Well, you know, the thing is, you've got a perfect point there, because as human beings, we're designed to experience emotions. And it is part of the uniqueness and the part of the glory of being in a human body. Absolutely. The thing is, there's nothing wrong with emotions. Emotions is a very powerful way of experiencing on a sensorial level, and it also it moves the soul through it.
Absolutely.
And through emotions, it actually intensifies the creative ability that you have. Now, greatly, it served us to have a very slow creative ability, meaning that we can go through an emotion. Imagine if we created instantly and be driven by emotions. The moment you said, I hate you and I want to kill it, you just vaporized.
I think we'd all be alone on our own world, wouldn't we?
We would have vaporized everything. And then eventually we're going to look in the mirror and vaporize ourselves.
Because we say, I hate what you did, and the girl, you're all by yourself now, and poof, gone.
So that's why the spacing and so forth is going on. Now, so the emotions is fine to experience, but what's happened is we are now have been driven by emotions. To the point is an emotion activates, we see nothing else.
Because emotions are controlling us more than...
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the difference. So we're not saying there's something wrong with emotions. It's about allowing the emotions to be, but it not to drive you.
So it's like, you know, when the computer screws up, it's not the computer, it's the human, right? So it's the same thing. It's don't let the emotions control you, you control the emotions, right? And that's a tall order. in this world, right? Up to this point.
Up to this point, yes. And that's where the part of the shift will take form, where it will actually relieve us from having the emotions take over. Now, of course, there's work to be involved.
Okay.
And don't think that, we step into December 21st and then,
it's utopia.
Utopia.
Yeah.
All we've done is we stepped into another dimensional consciousness and a new energy, so we have more clarity, but there's still work to be done.
Okay.
So your work is not done, sorry.
So
You've got lots of work to do.
Darn it. So,
you can't put gone fishing sign up.
So to your point then, does that mean there's still going to be clearings? Does that mean there's still going to be some sort of negativity as you start going through clearings? Okay, so let's not create a pie in the sky.
Yeah, the thing is too, I mean, we step into this new dimension. I mean, there's still a grace that's been provided as a collective to provide other souls opportunities to get on board. But that still means that there's a lot of emotional clearing, a lot of program clearing and so forth. So let's put it this way. A percentage of the population, around 23% right now, can change, will be on board with shifting. So they're going to shift. That means
by December 21st, 2012.
Yes, so they'll go with the shift. So the others will all get an opportunity to see what the shift feels like, but they're still going to be 3D because they still have work to do.
Okay.
Now, at that point, the 77 or 78% of it will have basically 2 years worth of time to either make it the changes or choose to leave that stream.
So when you say the 22% are going over and then the 78% are going to feel it but still be in 3D, so how they don't know about this shift, so how are they going to feel it? Like, are they just going to start to all of a sudden be on a soul searching, or what's that going to look like so that so the 22% can know what to see and look for in that 78%?
Yes. Well, right now, the souls that are ready to shift, that already, in some cases, have already shifted in the fourth, because there are people already in fourth and fifth on the planet.
There's some leaders, right? Way
Yes,
showers.
Because we've done the work, we've been there. Okay, we're there now. Now they're the ones that don't feel at home here. They're doing the work with love and everything else, but they don't feel at home. Once they shifted over, we've shifted over. Actually, that feels more at home. But what happens to all the third dimensional consciousness beings that are still on the planet?
Yes.
They're going to start feeling out of place. It's actually reversed now. And
even though it's 20, so it's not majority rules then. It's more energetically.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the thing is, they're now going to feel out of place, and more things are coming up. So they're basically, and you look at the dynamics that create here, because imagine now 22 are on board. 22% are on board.
Which is probably the highest we've had ever, right?
Okay. Exactly. Now we're creating a really powerful emotion going on, momentum, right? Like you were saying. And that momentum is now increasing the energy. So now it's going like this, further and further. And what's going to happen, the more you hang on to the 3D part of it, the harder it's going to get, the more intense it's going to feel. And it could be to the point, if you can't let it go, and some people have said it, you may feel like you're going nuts, totally. Okay? Because the thing is, nothing feels right to you anymore.
Wow.
Until you are ready to say, okay, I can't hold it, and I'm going to let it go. And you can start letting stuff go, right?
I can see that. Just an example, I was just talking to somebody this morning, and they were talking about getting a job. And you think about a lot of the people that are getting up every day, going to work, at the banks or at the government or at telemarketing companies, right? And just, I was thinking about it. What if I had to do that? Go and work as a bill collector, like one of those collectors. Like I'm just thinking there's just no way. Like, it's so meaningless. It's so just horrible to even think about doing that. Maybe 10 years ago, it wouldn't have felt so just yucky, but it's just completely yucky.
Exactly, and that's how it's going to feel for many, many people. And that's one of the things that will motivate the structures to change and others to be disassembled. And that's how the thing changes, because right now there are many people that really can't do it, like yourselves, that you can't just go out and do a 9-to-5 job and start moving things around or doing
moving
stuff,
papers,
because you're not going to feel, not only you're not going to resonate, it's like, I can't say repulsive, but it's almost like, whoa, this is heaviness and so forth. And then, of course, you're going to be involved with an environment specifically that are most likely still in the 3D world, still playing the superficial, whatever it is, because that's where they're at. There's no judgment about any of it. And you're going to feel like an alien there. What am I doing here? You're not going to want to do it. So it's going to be very, very difficult. And that's going to continue along the way. And it will perpetuate the fact, okay, we don't need this, don't need this, and that. I mean, we can get more depth with that part of it, too.
Okay, why don't we just take a little bit of a break?
Okay.
I got this fabulous video I want to play.
But let's come back and talk to you about this.
We will. We will.
So don't forget.
All
Forget
right.
where you are.
Just remind me.
Okay. Okay. Jeez, you remind
So
me on my mind. Not very good,
I got
Franco.
this great video. What this is it's an actual angel caught on videotape saving somebody and
That's amazing.
going beyond
That's
time.
amazing.
Yeah, so let's watch this video,
Okay.
and we're going to come back, and maybe Franco could comment on it.
But we have to
about
come
the
back to
role of
this.
angels, and we will come back to this.
Okay.
We'll be right back. Okay, so you see there's actual proof that angels are out there helping people. Right? And I actually, as I was telling you, I know somebody that had a similar experience to that. They told me about that same kind of scenario.
Where they actually saw somebody?
Where they were actually saved, where they were riding their bike.
Wow.
They were going to get hit by a car. Next thing you know, they're behind the car. There was the time, like, how did they get there? There was no time to do that. They don't remember what happened. They were okay, whereas they were going to be killed or whatever.
Amazing. Amazing. Wasn't there time to go? Right?
Yeah.
Because we all have a contract. When it's our time to go, we're going to go.
I hope not. Okay, Franco. Okay, now
you're not going to have a choice, you.
I don't. Yeah, Franco. Okay, so there's angels, but where were we before?
We're talking about the structures. So we're talking about what the structures will look like.
So do you want to work with the angels or the structures first?
Well, let's recap on the angels since it's the fresh, and then we'll go back to the structures. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm easy going.
Yes, you are. You are. You're such an easy interview.
Okay. So regarding the angels, I mean, we do have angels that work with us. Now, part of the change that occurred too, see, there's everything is just working always in perfection. And remind me about that incident that you were talking about just a moment ago with your friend. Okay. Because there's another component to that. Okay?
Okay.
Now, with regards to angels, yes, we all have angels that, have been part of our lives. Some of them have more than one. Now, they're beings that are not taking on human form. They also learn from observing our journey and so forth, and they will contribute and participate in that.
Okay.
Now, once upon a time, they worked with us to kind of help us maneuver through our journey and so forth. And at times they would take you out of a certain scenario and so forth and spare you from having certain things that they could see that we weren't able to see yet.
Okay.
But that changed. That changed. There was a mandate that came along. There was a big memo sent out.
Was this in '86 too?
No, it was. Well, that was it had one phase of the shift that occurred then.
Okay.
Then there was another one sometime afterwards, in the 90s, and then in around 2000 there was another part of it that came in that changed, where basically what was happening was that the angels would be intervening at certain times, and what happened is if somebody needed that particular experience to make a shift in their life. So example, they needed that accident to occur.
Okay.
And that's why, like you were saying earlier, it's like, let them have the accident. Mm-hmm. Because right now, they're not there to serve us to the same degree as they were before, where they turn around and I don't like the word serve, but to support us. Where you say, oh, help me get this, or help me do this, and so forth. And times it would occur, right? There was an intervening alignment and so forth that was going on. But what happens is now their new mandate was, we can't interfere with the human experience. Meaning, if they need to have a specific lesson for them to move, take a huge step, whatever that may be, we cannot interfere.
Okay.
We will provide the extra clarity or support along the way, saying, maybe you should look at this, or shift that part of it, but it would not go in and try to take that experience away from you, because if you need it. Now, if you don't, then it will assist you if you can't quite do it yourself.
Kind of like a parent who lets go of control over the child, letting the child learn on their own.
Exactly, exactly.
But they won't let you die if it's not your time, correct? They will interject, or will they?
They will assist. Now, in the scenario of your friend there, you have to understand too, you can be in a scenario, and I've dealt with people because I do a lot of regressional stuff too with people, and other people have already talked about it as we were going through it. But say, example, you're driving and an accident occurs, okay? And you step out of the body. Now, you didn't get the clues. The angels were out for coffee, or having what are that cottage cheese stuff, whatever they call it there. Whatever they do. Flopping away.
That cream cheese.
Cream
there
cheese,
you go.
Philadelphia cream cheese or something, right? So they're out having their thing, and they kind of weren't there to assist you. So say you had the accident and you checked out.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, your soul is now presented with your guides, and your guides will say, okay, such and such, how do you feel about stepping out of that human experience and going into non-form for a period of time and then choosing something new? Or do you feel that there's still an opportunity for you to make more advancements going back into that physical form? Now, if your soul turns around and says, you know, I really want to continue this because I was making some progress.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Then at that point, you decide how much of that experience you want. Now, if I don't need the experience at all, because really I don't need something hard knocks in that point. Say you had a collision and you checked out.
Okay.
You're allowed to go back seconds before the incident, and a whole different scenario plays out. What happens is you shift into a different timeline, personal timeline. Okay. So something else happened. This happened with a young man that I was dealing with one point. He had an accident in a car while he was driving really quickly, and he rear-ended in the back of a transport truck at 120 kilometers an hour. Ooh. All he remembers is going blank. Okay? And then within seconds, he saw himself back in the car again, coming up to the same point, but having this strong urge to, like somebody grabbed its hands and changed and went into the opposite lane. But there was no cars coming for a direction. And all of a sudden he goes over and he sees the same incident and goes, what the heck happened? I just remember hitting this thing at full force at 120 kilometers an hour and blanking out, and now I'm back in the car and I've just passed it.
So what happened there? He switched timelines? Can you explain?
Yes, because his soul basically said, no, I'd like to still be on the planet. So the thing is, when you understand the checking out point, before you come here, you map out a certain path and say, yeah, I want to leave at around this time. But as you're going through this process, depending on the progress you make, you can readjust the time. So it's not like, okay, you got to go here today and that's it. Okay? My 51st birthday, I'm out of here. Have my stroke or heart attack, whatever it is, while I'm eating my cake and whatever, and I'm gone.
Right.
And you may have planned it that way, but because of the progress you made and whatever else, you get to that point, getting close to that point and saying, it doesn't serve me to leave because I've really made some progress and I can really now rock and roll here. So you can change that. So you're no longer, it's like definite, you say, okay, because it's malleable. That was just a pre-plan, it's like.
Okay, so it's a potential. It was a
potential, yes.
Okay.
However, if you don't do that, or even if you pass that and then other events, because you put in markers and other situations and so forth, because the time you're just moving it. It's just a matter of saying, okay, I won't leave here this way, I'll move it to something else. Say you miss that part. Okay. And bang, you wake up dead. Meaning the soul finds itself, oh, my physicality, there it is, okay. But then the soul says, hey, I can still use this, I can still go back, and then it goes. So in actual fact, you have 3 opportunities to choose to go. So nobody's ever leaving by accident. Nobody's leaving because they didn't want to leave. The mind may not want to leave. The mind believing, oh, I want to be here with this and that. But the soul says, are we done with this or not? Okay. So nobody's going to leave. So anyone that left, it was a soul agreement. It was their soul saying, yes, I'm ready for this. So
when you said, Franco, that you have 3 opportunities, you meant that man had 3 opportunities at that point, or we have 3 opportunities through life? Like, what does that mean? Well, you can have more. Those are your primary opportunities because you pick a tentative date or tentative time. Throughout our lifetime, we have 3 exit points. From the beginning. Yeah, and then you actually always get the opportunity to renegotiate your contract, if you want to call it that, basically changing it. And then even if you missed the negotiation, you got the opportunity, but you missed it, you kind of were sleeping through it, you said, nah, I'm not bothered. Then when it does happen, you still get the opportunity to come back. Okay. Now, it's not that you're coming back in another physicality. You go back in the same physicality, you're just back wound, because there is no time, remember. Right. So you just wound back slightly, and then you are given a slightly different timeline. And I'm not going to even go into having multiple things happen at once. Right?
That's probably happened to almost, I mean, I can,
many people.
I'm trying to think about instances where maybe I was close to death and then I woke up and was alive. So those could be
because there are times when people are just blanked out and it's like, how do I get here now? I was just about to have something and now I'm still alive, I'm okay, I'm here, right? Now, in some cases, you will still have the accident, but you won't be killed in the accident. Or your heart stops, but then you revive again. So the near-death experiences, a lot of cases are that. They needed that part of the experience to get them going. but they were given a new lease, they're given themselves, really,
So,
because the soul ultimately decides.
now, does that apply to every single person on this planet? Are there people here, Franco, that don't have that kind of flexibility, that don't have, like, they're here for specific missions and specific purposes, and so that they either they do that purpose or they're gone, kind of thing? Like for yourself, for instance, did you get those opportunities to check out at certain times?
No, I don't. I don't give myself that opportunity. The soul doesn't, because the fact that it has agreed to be here for a certain period of time to allow all the transition to go through. Now, after I've done my work, and I'm not really necessary here, then I have the option to either extend it or leave. Okay. Now, if I'm having fun, and that would be a new thing, because so far it hasn't been. But at that point in time,
we all thank you, Franco.
But at that point in time, say, well, if I want to stick around and watch some more, then I can. You can negotiate, and you don't even have to go through any of those other stages because you're conscious. Now, if by any chance something happens and you check out of your physicality, I have the option to be a drop-in too, drop into somebody else's body at any point in time and carry on the work, right? But that's not normally the best way to do it, because you now have to bridge this whole, getting yourself back on track again, because you now have to clear that specific body, because
there's a lot of work to have to be done before you can even get to the work itself.
Exactly, and there's a delay to that. So does it serve? No. So
So do you know at this point in our time, in humanity's time, do you know at this point when your work will be done? Can you even see that? Do you know that?
Well, I'm contracted for 120 years. I'm at 55-year point now, so I still have time.
This shift is going to take 60 years?
No, the thing is too, it just continues from there, because we're going to create a lot of, the shift is not finite. We get there, we're done. We're not arriving anywhere. We're just stepping in, and we just expand. And what we're doing is creating new opportunities. Now, at any point in time, I feel that humanity does not serve for my presence to be here, then I can choose at any time to leave. I mean, even though the contract's there, I can say, okay, guys,
I'm done.
I can leave this.
So with your contract, as we're moving into 4D, December 21st, and then in the next 2 years, we do that 4D, we move into 5D after 2013-14 into 2015. Is your 120 years as part of that contract moving into 5D, or are you staying with those people who do not go to 5D and maybe stay in 4D, or are you going to people with 3D?
No, I'm helping with humanity on this planet, going into 4th, 5th, and then expanding from there. Absolutely. And we have the opportunity to even go to 6th.
Right.
But that's going to take a longer path, because there's a lot of work to be done before that, and a lot more growth, a maturity, or whatever you want to call it, in a more conscious, awakened state. Because we've been really shackled and held down, and now we're freeing ourselves. But now that we're freeing, we're just learning how to be free, or we will be learning how to be free. And there's a lot of work after this, because remember, we have, and that's where we can jump right into the structural action work, is that we still, come December 21st, all of this stuff will not evaporate. We're still going to live in the world where...
We're still going to have war.
Well, yes, but it's going to start phasing off really quickly, because the people are going to become conscious, and they're going to choose no. This is the thing, is because we'll become more consciously aware that we have a choice. Right now, many don't. There's a small few that say, well, yeah, we have a choice to a certain degree, but there's still confines around it. So we'll have a choice and say, why are we even playing this? It will actually, you'll be able to see that it no longer serves. You're not going to categorize it saying, well, this is insane. In a way, you could look at it and say, well, do we really need this any longer? No, we don't. And you could see it, and you could also see it, it's just a quick switch. It's not like, oh, we got to go in and bargain and start, coming in and saying, okay, well, we got more muscle power, and we're going to evaporate you guys if you don't cooperate or anything like that. And you say, hey, what do you guys want? We want peace. We want peace. Let's work in harmony here. Let's take down our weapons. Let's disassemble this stuff. Let's work at how we can enhance your life as you help us enhance our life. That's where it becomes...
But that seems so logical. Why haven't we done that before?
Because the state of consciousness that we're in, the program that is being continuously pumped into us and so forth, is opposite. It's about every man for themselves. It's about good and bad. It's about you know, having villains and terrorists and us, you know. In actual fact, when you really look at it, we're all both playing the same role. You know, just because we're getting into a tank and going out to kill civilians, say, well, they're the terrorists. Who the heck are we going there to bomb it out?
Exactly.
I mean,
we're the terrorists
we're not playing
too.
any different part of it.
Depending on the perspective. From their perspective, we're the terrorists.
Exactly.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I saw this video on the internet. But it was about the GM foods, the genetically modified foods, and there was a fellow just this morning I saw was talking about how the genetically modified, you know, they have that corn. 85% of the corn that's grown is genetically modified to produce a pesticide that kills a pest that would otherwise eat the corn. But if people eat it, it's possible, according to some scientists now, that people will start to produce this pesticide. And what they're saying is that it's actually making us, if we eat this stuff, less human. It's actually changing our DNA and making us less human. What are the implications of that, Franco, in light of what's supposed to be happening on December 21st?
Depends what part you want to look at. That's pretty broad there. I mean, the purpose of GMO is not about creating a crop that is pesticide resistant. That is the illusion, okay?
That's the front story.
That's the front story. The GMO is to create a product, something that people consume that will hamper their health and well-being, and will alter them so that they cannot evolve, not even function.
Like in terms of mind control, are we talking?
Well, it's actually, remember, the soul requires our body and our mind.
Okay.
And they know that. They can't directly, and when I say they, we're talking about the elites and groups and so forth.
Like the Illuminati, we can say the word.
Okay, we can use that. They have a mandate. They're playing a role. Like we were saying, talking about it earlier, they're only playing the role, okay?
Which we hired them to do at the end of the day, correct?
Yes, we've made the agreement.
Okay.
You know, and I've given a simple example. It's like making an agreement with somebody, okay? Like, for example, you go to a friend of yours and say, listen, every 10 minutes I want you to slap me in the face, okay? And the person's going, why do you want me to slap you in the face? Just slap me in the face every 10 minutes, okay? So here you are, now that your friend comes up to you and slaps you in the face. And then you turn around and say, what the hell did you slap me in the face for? You know? You told me to slap you in the face. And then they come back and hit you again. Now you're getting angry at someone that you gave instructions and permission to do so. You say, please do it. And that's why they're playing the role of duality. They're bringing things to the max. Now we've agreed to that to a certain degree. We don't, of course.
Remember.
So they're playing the role. And like I was saying earlier, they're saying, come on guys, we're doing our job. Now do your job, where you turn around and say, okay, we're not participating. I've had my fill of this experience, and now I need to move forward.
So is it fair to say the Illuminati want us to wake up as much as we want to wake up?
At the soul level, absolutely.
Okay, beautiful.
At the mind level, they're unaware of what they're doing. They're in a state where I'm following an agenda, and the agenda is this, and that is to minimize population, enslave everyone, make everybody into androids or whatever you want to call it, in a sense where they cannot think for themselves, to the point where they're just doing what you.
So that's what this GMO foods is all about. You're saying that's the real purpose of it, is to, you said make it impossible for us to love. Did you say that?
No, I didn't say that part.
Oh, okay.
To live.
To live.
To live in our natural state. So it does affect, yes, our what do you call it?
Humanity.
DNA,
Okay.
And of course it also alters the functionality of the body itself, right? So it creates, and of course the research have shown, you know, it does, look at it this way, it does destroy the physicality and create the physicality to be in this harmony. Because look, if you're not feeling well, what is your focus going to be on? Your focus is going to be on survival. It's going to be getting well or whatever it is.
That's correct.
Okay, and now you're putting yourself in, and you're just like surrendering yourself to the medical system, to the institution of what we call a medical system, which is not about health anyways. So you're putting yourself into that. The people that are working in it, of course, they're doing it with love, not knowing any different at this point in time. So I'm not saying, you know, you're a nurse, you're a doctor, that you're evil. No, you're playing with what you've been dealt with, what you've been programmed to do. So when you look at the backside, any doctor would finally understand and is given the permission to open his consciousness, would turn around and say, well, I'm not going to give you this pill here. I know that it's going to kill you or compromise you, that you're going to be enslaved. They wouldn't do that because at the heart level, at the soul level. But that's the role. So it's compromising our physicality when we're talking about this GMO. Look at it this way. There's so much research that's coming out that this stuff is bad. Not only is bad, they said, okay, it has its own pesticides, so now, but it also consumes much more pesticides than it was before. It is actually much more costly, where they say, well, it was going to save money, and we're going to feed the population with it because, we have this issue with shortage of food and so forth. By doing it this way, we'll be able to feed the many. In actual facts, the crops actually reduce, the costs go up, and we're now contaminating everything, and then the people that are ingesting it are actually having side effects and ill effects.
And they're feeding the pharmaceutical industry and the medical
because it slides you right back into that part of it.
So to your point and to what we're talking about, the structures coming down, how do we turn that around? Because it is unfortunately, it's such a big part of our life now, and it's very hard for a lot of people not to get GMO foods. It's very hard, even if you do go to those health food stores and like Whole Foods and things like that. Apparently, there's a whole bunch of foods that say that they're not GMOs, and they are. So there's a lot of that going on. So how do we take that back? Is it through a shift in consciousness and just protecting ourselves from a consciousness perspective? Because not everybody can afford or has the opportunity.
And that's set up that way. This is, see, the food that is not for your highest good, for your health, it does not support your physicality in its natural state, is made most available cheaply because it's supplemented that way. The stuff that is actually good for you is the part that's so expensive, right?
And hard to find.
And hard to find too, basically. Now, of course, it is expanding to some degree, but then, of course, you look at this whole idea, and look at all the big fuss they did with in California and so forth about labeling GMOs. Okay, it's like, we don't have the right to actually know what's there in our food.
It's crazy.
And it's like, no, we can't because of this, and this, and this. And then you go, well, anybody with their mind open, with their eyes open, say, that's insane. Why would you do that? So the shift in consciousness, what it will do is more and more souls will become awakened to it and start to look at it, and we're coming together and saying, we're going to change this. We're not allowing this to take form. And it doesn't matter what corporations will say. They can threaten all they want. They may play that role because they still, part of that will still stay intact for up to 2 years, not to the same degree, but at the same time, they will play the what do you call it? The
bad guy?
The bad guy. Let's put it that way. I couldn't find the right word now. Okay. And they'll play the bad role, but it's up to us. Because what's happening as they're playing that role, it's for us to cut back to self-empowerment and saying, no, we have a choice. Do we want to participate with this or not? Okay? And it's not about, what the scientists have been paid to say that, this is like this. Because look at the FDA and all these other organizations. They're getting reports. Even the people that are working there are getting the reports. This stuff shouldn't be out in the market. We got to destroy it and so forth. But of course, it just passes on and it becomes mainstream. And it's actually supported and even convincing and so forth. But we'll come to the point where we say, no, we're not accepting this. Okay? And this is where the structure starts to change, because now we're no longer looking at the structure on a monetarily basis, on a belief system and program never before. As we go along, we start looking at it saying, what are we doing? How does this support? And it will not be anymore where I'm going to make something for me. Because look at most of all companies, most of everything, it's about self-inducing, whatever you call it. Profit, but it's about self. I'm going to make this. I don't care what it does to the environment. I don't care what it does to the animal.
At the expense of.
I'm going to get my thrills out of the money or whatever else that I'm going to get out of it. That mentality will change. To the point is, if I'm going to make something, if anything is going to be created for humanity, does it serve? And it is of the highest servitude where it actually complements the physicality, complements the nature and everything else, rather than it compromising it in any way, shape, or form. So that will be part of the change. So of course, then what's going to happen? We're going to start looking at it and say, well, the monetary system, the pharmaceutical system, the education system, you're going to look at it, how does this serve? Well, it doesn't serve. It restricts. So let's start disassembling it and opening it up and redesign it.
Okay, so are the Illuminati and the elite, are they going to fight this?
For a while, yes.
Okay.
But they already realize that they're losing power for a while.
Okay.
But they're actually, deep inside, they're saying, come on, let's do it. Let's get free us, because they're in shackles themselves.
Are they aware of their role, Franco? Or are they buying into it just like we have bought into it?
The mind and their part that their role is bought into it, can't see anything different.
Okay. I guess you have to in order to do what you, at that level of...
Yeah. And you have to understand, they're souls like us too. Now, the thing is, a soul that will take on that role will not be an enlightened soul, for sure, because it's going to be very difficult to play that role. Okay, so you have to be still in a more less enlightened state, a less awakened state, soul. Now, there are a lot of souls that are not playing different roles, what the Illuminati would play or anything of that nature. But, you know, how many people do you meet that are at a point that they're totally asleep? They're just, you know, I live for today, I go to work, I do this, whatever it is, give me my beer, give me this or that, and I'm not categorizing anything, but they're into pleasures and whatever else, and nothing more. There is, you know, like you see them, but nobody's there. It's like there's no consciousness left.
Yes.
Those are the types of souls that would take on a role like that, because it's not going to be conflicting for them.
Okay.
Because look at it this way.
Okay.
As your soul has been enlightening, as you guys are doing that, we've already mentioned it before. You're talking about, I can't do this job anymore. I can't do that, right? So imagine you now, Sandra, taking on the role as going in and compromising humanity, taking on a role of a physicality of Illuminati.
No, I build cat shelters for cats in the winter. That's my role.
Yes, but you wouldn't be able to do that.
No, I could never do that.
You would look at it and say, I can't fit those shoes. There's no possible way.
Yes,
because my vibration is light, and that is a very darker energy. Even though it's servitude, my soul cannot embody that physicality, because it will feel so uncomfortable.
But you know, Franco, you bring up actually a really good point. It makes me think that, you know, for those people who are playing those roles and serving us who are moving into the awakening stage, I am actually really grateful to them. Because to take on a role like that, I mean, I don't want to be them, and I don't want to have to be a part of their soul growth once they leave here, but I am so grateful that they have done that for me. So in some ways, you know, it's at a big price too for them.
It is, because it really, you know, when you look at the soul, it's picking up some pretty low vibrating energies, and then they're getting involved in you know, rituals and so forth that are so archaic. I mean, the soul's being exposed and recording all of that, and it's really, you know, it's a leap saying, okay, I'm going to do this for humanity at the cost of my being really held back for a period of time. And that's why at the soul level...
Is that what they're saying? At a soul level? Is that what they say?
Yes, absolutely.
So in a sense then those Illuminati people are really brave souls.
Yes, yes. And they really want us to get our act together, because we're all one anyways, saying, okay, we're doing our job, now it's your turn to do your job, and that your turn to do your job is to finally say, okay, I'm done with this, let's move on. So it's saying the quicker you do that, the quicker I can get out of my role, and I can go move on with my enlightenment process.
So what happens, and I'm not asking you to know everything, but on what happens to them, but like, okay, so somebody who is an Illuminati person, okay, what happens to them once they die or transition? What happens to them at that point? Like, will they go to 4D? Will they go to 3D? Like,
what would happen? They have choices, and this is for anybody else that's also operating in that, because they're not the only ones. You know, even though they're not taking on the heavy role, there are many people that are in that state too. What happens when they do leave? Okay, they leave the physicality. They're offered a couple of two of the primary choices they have. Is they have the choice at this point in time to go through an enlightening state, which is basically they're going into a purging, clearing through non-form, where they go through streams of light and shedding of the densities and darkness that the soul has collected, playing the roles.
Okay.
And they can do that to a certain degree. To prepare for coming back on the planet as a fourth dimensional consciousness being, and then a fifth. Or it can go to the point of shedding enough to still go back and play a third dimensional consciousness on another planet that is a third dimensional consciousness planet. They will have a choice, and every soul on the planet that is at that state could either go for preparation to move forward, to come back onto this planet later on, or to go on to another planet where it is disseminated. So you're basically going to the one that resonates for you. Now you have to understand that what we're experiencing as third dimensional consciousness here is not natural. It's actually an altered one. So going on to another planet, they're not going to have the same...
Third dimensional planet, you mean?
Yes.
Which will not be Mother Earth, right? It will be similar.
Yes. But it will not have the same constraints and stuff that we've experienced here, which is the modification and so forth, even though we have agreed to it. We are running a hybrid program. It is not our natural design of humanity, of when it was originally created. So it's going to be easier for them. It's like this, now going to grade 3, where every effort in grade 3 is to flunk you and to actually keep you locked up. Or you go to a planet that you're in grade 3 and you're enhanced to move forward out of grade 3. So it's like that. If you're using that in simple analogy.
It's about achieving your potential instead of locking you in.
You say, okay, you know, the support structure there is, come on, that's finish the work in grade 3. Let's help each other move on, and we're going to all graduate at some point in time. That's good. Here, you come on this planet, and graduation is the last thing it wants. It's basically going, no, we're going to have, and that's why the opposition. Because look at it this way. The souls are, when they're coming here, they have the highest ideas. They come with a list, and they have all these things they want to do, and they say, when they're looking in non-form, of course it looks like, wow, that's pretty intense experience there. I want to go on the ride. Not realizing, once you're in it, how easily you can get locked up. And then, as much as that's a beautiful, powerful experience, these souls have been coming back and coming back and coming back. And each time it's saying, I can do it this time, I can do it this time. It's like, realistically, if we have to put a logical way of seeing it as an analogy here, it's like a video game, because this is what it is. This is a video game. We're just projecting the game, So we're playing the game. So here you are, you started this game called Planet Earth, being a human, and you're playing the game. And of course, you get to the point, you get killed or whatever else, you step out of the physicality. But you're so obsessed to play this game, you go right back in. So the game over, reset the game, start all over again. Reset the game and restart all over again. To the point where you do not see that you have a whole shelf, a bookcase full of games that you can easily go and say, well, I could go play third somewhere else.
Yes, it's that, you know what, that's a very good analogy, because I do play that Brick Breaker or something on my BlackBerry, and I'm obsessed. You've got to go back, and you've got to beat that score. And I don't care about any other games. I've got to keep going back, and I'll like be up late doing that stupid game. So it's the same. It's this compulsion. So you're saying that's what we have at that soul level.
Exactly, and this is where the souls are locked in. That's going to change also this year. The end of this year will break that obsession of it, and it opens up to the fact, so if you're leaving, now you have the freedom to go through the light realms and get prepared for this. That's what they call light realms, to prepare yourself, or to go through the light realms and then go back to another three-dimensional planet. So those are the options you have. But right now, that option doesn't even exist, because you're locked, the soul is locked up into that obsession to keep coming back. I gotta go back, I gotta go back, I gotta go back. And each time it's going, it's, oh darn, you know, I know,
I was so close.
I just twist it a little more and just go right back in.
I can do it this time. That's it, I can do. So after December 21st, the program unlocks.
Yes.
Okay, let's take a little break. I got a video. Countdown to Apocalypse. Let's just watch this to get us in the mood, and then we'll come back with Franco and find out exactly what's going to happen.
We're already in the mood.
Yes, we are. Okay, we'll be right back.
It's a funny thing. Either we don't want to think about doomsday or the civilization falling, or we want to obsess about it.
Is it human nature to want to know when the end will come? I think we all want to know. We'd love to know how much time we have left.
Ancient doomsday prophecies.
Each world age was supposed to end in a destruction.
I think the Maya were saying something about December 21st, 2012.
Now prophecy collides with modern science.
There's storms on the Earth of unprecedented proportion.
No species lives forever. We are in a major extinction right now.
Around the world, people are preparing.
Every single person in America needs to be doing something to prepare for what's coming.
What we fear will happen in 2012 is going to happen.
This is Countdown to Apocalypse. 2012, a time of unprecedented change and turmoil throughout the world. Some are turning to ancient prophecy to foretell their fate. Perhaps no other prediction currently holds more power than the Maya calendar, with its looming end date of December 21st, 2012.
What is the Maya 2012 thing about? It's a perfect storm. It's a coincidence of scientific speculation.
The ancient Maya predicted that the end of December 2012, specifically December 21st, 2012, would be a time of great reckoning for us, and they said that that would be because of the sun's behavior.
The Maya were an ancient civilization that rose to prominence deep in the jungle of Central America.
The ancient Maya lived between about 300 BC and 900 AD in the present nation of Guatemala and Belize, and the adjoining parts of Mexico, Honduras, and El Salvador.
With limited technology, they built great temples and mastered the mapping of the stars. By 800 AD, their population had grown to more than 1 million people in 6,000 cities. While they are known for their advanced writing system and meticulous record-keeping, much of their knowledge was lost when this ancient civilization mysteriously vanished. It wasn't until hundreds of years later that surviving Maya texts began turning up in museums and the work of translation could begin. Then, in the 1960s, an ancient tablet referred to as Monument 6, or the Tortuguero Stone, was unearthed from an archaeological site in southern Mexico. Inscribed on this tablet, a date when time seemingly runs out. December 21st, 2012. To many, this stone represents a chilling prophecy about the end of the world. However, some details from the stone remain shrouded in mystery.
Right when it gets to the crucial part where it says what's going to happen, the stone is broken. We call this Murphy's Law of Epigraphy.
But what we discern from the surviving portion of the tablet is that the Maya calculated December 21st, 2012 to be a critical point in human history.
Their prophecy, in a nutshell, was that on December 21st, 2012, it would be like the birth of a new era, and like any other birth, it would be accompanied by joy, blood, and pain.
Obsessed with the cycles of the sun, moon, and stars, the Mayan method for recording time has many modern-day scholars in awe.
The Maya were not just astronomers, they were astrologers. And they weren't just mathematicians, they were numerologists. And they had fabulous ability to record things mathematically.
They were great observers of the sky, observers of the stars, observers of the heavens. And they made incredibly accurate calendars.
They found a magic number, in a sense, that brings together all these different sky rhythms. And so it can be used for calculation purposes, but it also was used for interpretive purposes as well, which is astrology.
The Maya believed the keys to human fate were held within the heavens. They used their keen astrological sense to predict events hundreds of years into the future, including the Spanish conquest of Mexico in 1519, and a revolution in communication which has been fully realized with the advent of the printing press and the World Wide Web.
Because they were obsessed with time, there were some people that thought that maybe time was their religion.
And the Mayas' pursuit of tracking time was based on their understanding of celestial cycles and their impact upon the planet. They understood that patterns in the stars were closely linked to the patterns occurring on the Earth. This advanced knowledge makes their calendar unparalleled to this day.
They would keep track of events and how many days elapsed between them. And they could calculate not only thousands of years, but millions of years in the future and the past.
The Maya created many calendars to measure the cycles of astronomical events. The calendar, which ends on December 21st, 2012, is one that measures a cycle that started over 5,000 years ago.
December 21st, 2012 is the end date of a 5,125-year block of time called the Long Count.
The origin date of the Long Count calendar is in the year 3114 BC, a period of dramatic transition for human society.
The beginnings of Stonehenge occur around that time. The beginnings of the Old Kingdom in Egypt occur at that time. There are a number of events worldwide that seem to have their origins at that point. So something must have gone on globally.
Around 3100, 3200 BC, there is an indication that something happened. It may have been a solar outburst, but something happened. Now, is this just coincidental that it correlates pretty closely with the start of the Mayan calendar? I don't know, but when I see a correlation like that, I have to suspect that there is something to it.
There are many theories about what happened to prompt the emergence of modern civilization. But whatever occurred, it clearly stretched beyond the border of the ancient Maya world.
It was probably climate. It appears that there were some fairly rapid climate change events that occurred then. My argument would be that climate change is a primary driver of the evolution of human societies.
Global climate change, a hot-button issue for our time, may have had an even greater impact on the ancient world. And while the start date of the Long Count may shed light on past events on Earth, the end date, December 21st, 2012, heralds an even rarer coincidence.
And we're back here on the show, and obviously we've got a lot to think about as we approach December 21st. And I was wanting to ask you, Franco, because we talked about a lot of different stuff here, but you know, that date's coming up pretty soon, and some people, you know, are approaching 5D, some are stuck in 3D, some are probably in 4D. I wanted to see if you could paint a picture for us of what we can expect in terms of...
I'm not a good artist, though. Go ahead.
With your words. I mean, what's going to happen? What can we expect as we go through this date?
You mean on the actual date, right?
In terms of world events, in terms of how, you know, we might, what our personal experience might be like.
Are you talking about the actual December 21st when we go to sleep and wake up the next day?
I'm just talking about, even before, during, and after, but like, how are things going to change? How are they going to change? What's it going to look like?
That really depends on you, Hugh, and what you want to create in your reality.
Well, and you know, one of the questions in the audience during the break, it applies to this. They were saying, okay, so you had mentioned the 22% who aren't at home right now.
Yes.
Okay, and once we hit into December 21st, they're going to feel more at home, and the 78% are going to start to feel not so much at home.
Exactly.
And so what this viewer wanted to know was he understands that from a feeling level. It's going to feel better, you're going to feel like you can breathe a little more, but from an actual 3D living your life perspective, does that mean, for instance, a lot of the people who, that 22% are struggling right now? Okay, they're struggling financially or health-wise. Well, does that mean that a job will come easier? Does that mean they will be able to get the health care they need? What is that? Will there be a change on that level for that 22% who are feeling?
Yes. Okay. So basically what's going to occur, and I'll just lead into it.
Okay.
You know, come December 21st, there's going to be people that are going to feel a shift, a lightening up going in, feeling that being at home, and they'll actually feel that there's, you know, their eyes and mind will open up and be able to see more clearly what is taking place.
Okay. Okay.
So that is going to occur as part of it. You know,
Okay.
Are we going to have something, you know, massively awakening
Like physical?
and so forth?
Yeah,
No.
okay.
There's going to be the rest are going to see and feel nothing.
Okay.
And basically would say, see, it was a scam. Nothing happened, right? Type
Right.
of thing.
Right.
However, those 22% will, because of their seeing their view of life and so forth. Now, like your example there, they're struggling.
Okay.
Okay. The struggling is because it's trying to fit in a third-dimensional world when you're already in a fourth-dimensional state of beingness. Okay. In a sense.
Okay.
Now, it is not a pure state of fourth dimension, because when you're in that state, I can tell you, the struggling does not exist in a sense where you're not going to get caught up in it.
Okay.
Per se. Now,
You still see the polarities, you just don't attach.
yes, exactly.
Okay, okay.
So that's part of being caught in between. You're being tossed around because you haven't let go of one, and you're not
Okay.
fully into the other yet.
Okay. Okay.
And that's part of your own personal experience because
Okay.
you haven't totally let go and
Okay.
you're ready to jump in. But then the planet is also going like this too because it's teeter-tottering still until it actually shifts. So once it's done that, it becomes, okay, I'm all right where I am. And then, yes, you're going to find other things that are going to come along. However, whatever is going to come along, your view of things is not going to be, oh, I'm going to step into this and I have to have this as part of my life. Now I'm going to take this job and this is going to be my job and I'm going to hold on to this. It's like, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. Could be a week, could be a month, could be whatever time until it changes.
Okay.
All right? During this process, I mean, what's going to happen along the way? Okay? 2013 is going to be a colorful time because a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about, you know, potential intense experiences that would shift the planet in a sense where the restructuring of land masses and whatever else.
Earth changes.
Melting of polar caps and all that stuff. That's when all the next year is going to be having most of that. Now, the amount of it, the intensity of it will depend on the soul's necessity to jar them awake so that they can actually move forward. So it's going to create the stage along the way. During that period of time, a lot of the monetary stuff is going to collapse and restructure itself temporarily so that a lot of the debt stuff that's being created that has been held hostage because the debt has been created for that. It's not to be paid. Forget it. It can't possibly be done the way it's done. Okay, but that's purposely.
Yes.
To keep us in, you know, enslaved.
Right.
So that's going to start to create a balance where it's going to be redistributed to some degree and allow everybody to have a certain amount, and then at the same time, it's going to open up avenues where the food is not haltered. What do you call it? What's the word? Held in place only for certain people.
Yes.
It's going to be started to be shared and whatever else. So some of that will change along the way. And during that point in time, as we're going through these stages, of course, the people that have already stepped into 4D will feel purposeful, will feel, okay, we now have momentum. Now we have cooperation. That's work together. And that form of excitement, the creativity, the intuitiveness and all that stuff starts to accentuate. Because right now, we know it, but we can't even take the steps because everything is still pushing against us. The world's still not reflecting. And a lot of spiritual people that have been awakening are starting to doubt.
Yes.
Because of the fact that, wait a minute, nothing's happening. Really, it's not changing that much. Okay, yes, I'm feeling different. I'm getting all this powerful stuff going through me because of these influxes of energy that are coming through you, and I'm feeling all these emotions coming up and all this stuff coming through, but to them still it seems like a huge feat. It's like, to turn this around, and I've talked to people and they say, to turn this around, this is going to take another 50 years if we're lucky to even get our foot in the door to even move forward. But that's looking at it still in a planet that's still reflecting 3D, in a mind that's still reflecting 3D.
Right.
Well, we're still already stepping into the fourth. But when that transition occurs, when we're moving into that huge rock that we need to go through is going to easily be, oh, okay, it's pretty big, but we can take it apart very easily. But the thing is, it's not you now saying, I got to take it all apart. It's like, hey guys, we need to take it apart, so everybody's coming along. And they were all part because we're all going to start feeling we can do this. So that 22% will be that part. But while that's happening, the others are looking and saying, wow, okay, look at these people, they're doing this.
Yes.
You mean there's another option? You mean we can actually step out of this? We can do this? And there are others that are close to will start to say, can I be part of it? They may not be ready yet, but they can I be part of it? Even if I'm only here for 2 hours, like for example, what you're saying, building the shelters for the cats, right? All of a sudden there's more people coming up and showing up and saying, we want to participate.
Yes.
I don't know why, but I'm here, you know, and I want to do my part, right?
Yes.
Because they feel, yeah, I want to be part of this. How many people have you talked to who say, I want to be part of this?
Yes.
Don't know what to do.
Yes.
And because of the limitations.
That's very
right now,
true. That's very true.
That will clear.
They almost don't need to know why they want to be a part of it now.
Exactly, exactly. So, you know, the funny part is somebody asked me on another interview just a little while ago and saying, well, okay, well, once you shift it, then what's your role? You know, what are you going to be doing? You know, what is your part? I say, well, that's when the fun starts to start. Really? Because now you say, okay, we have all these people, we're ready, we feel it, we want to move forward. And that's now start creating other people to come together and say, let's open the thought pattern. Let's start seeing beyond what we've seen before. So you're creating the roadmaps in a sense, but they're all going to do it. They're doing it themselves. You're not here to change their world. You're just opening the doors for them and showing that we can create it differently and take the obstacles out of the way. So that's what's going to happen. So that is going to continue to perpetuate. So 2013, the whole year is really to shake up the 3D.
So is the fear also going to get bigger too then, Franco? Does that mean?
It will in one way for the souls that actually will, let's put it this way, the souls that are in 3D will experience much more fear, much more insecurity, much more just to get to the maximum of letting it go. Of course, that there's the opposite. Because of the 22% being in light and love and creating that, they're not going to be so wrapped up with whatever's happening. They're not going, oh my God, you know, type of thing, and go into panic.
Okay.
They see the perfection in it a lot more. And even if they're in the family dynamics where their family is going through tough times, they're not going to be so easily engaged in it. They're going to be, again, compassionate and loving, but they're not going to try to fix anybody. They're basically saying, okay, this is what you can do, but it's up to you how you do it. And they're going to, it's like what we were saying earlier, the child can keep falling, but you know, you're going to be there with love. Come on, you can get up, you can do it, you can do it, whatever it is. But you're not going to lift them up and carry them. So, but you're going to be with ease with that. That's kind of the part of the transition that comes in. It's not going to be so polarized now as now. It's like, you know, look how many people that are very loving and they're, you know, want to see love on the planet. But when they see somebody hurting, automatically they hurt, okay? They're getting right engaged into that emotion. So what are you doing? You're only feeding the same emotion that others is going there. And how can you be, it's like this, somebody falls in the mud. You have two choices. You can turn around and say, oh, okay, you fell in the mud. No problem. Here, let me give you a hand and I'll help you out of the mud.
So it's not
but
a big deal.
what happens is a lot of loving people say, oh, you're in the mud. And you jump in the mud with them. And you stop with them and you, oh, yes. You know, I feel bad that you're in the mud. I know we're both in the mud now. I understand where we're at. Okay, now let's try to figure out how to get out of here.
Now the two of you are in the mud. Somebody else comes in and says, oh my God. And they jump in the mud too. So it's like this mud bath.
Yes.
You know, that's a really good point you mentioned too, because I think as you do awaken, you become more empathic. So you have to be far more careful with how you handle that energy, because it can take you down instead of you bringing them up.
Exactly.
And that's what you're talking about, right? So we have to be really conscious about that.
Exactly.
So is it fair to say over the next 2 years, as we get our act together, that poverty will be gone? I know it's a big question, but...
No, but it's true. Within the 2 years, the haves and have-nots will be balanced out. The power given to money and control and all that stuff.
And hierarchy.
It will be greatly reduced.
Will there be banking systems and CEOs?
There will be for a while.
Okay.
But it is not profit-driven, power-driven any longer.
Okay.
It will be to create the bridge for, you know, the services will be there until, because again, you know, we don't need it. However, we're not in that state yet because the consciousness of humanity is still if I do this for you, I have to have something in return. The whole mentality is, for me to get this, I have to earn it. I have to do something.
Right,
okay?
right.
So the concept of fact that I'm going to just provide it for you because you're another facet of me, and whatever I'm providing you and your sustainability and your enhancement is the best for everybody else, which is good for me in turn, is still far-fetched for a lot of souls still, because of this repetitive cycle of, you know, trying to compete, trying to always, you know, survive and so forth. It's a pattern that has to be broken.
Separation.
Yes, the separation part. Even though that's opening up, there's still going to be that purging aspect of it going through. So that's why when people say, well, what do we need money for? We can dissolve it right away. Yes, you can, but we're not there yet.
We're not ready psychologically to understand that. Yeah.
So until that is completed, and then eventually it'll become easier and it'll fade away. So within the 2 years, a lot of the control structures that we have in place will have transformed. Okay. Maybe not totally dissolved, but transformed to a point it's more harmonious and balancing. All these control structures in the religious facets and the health facets and so forth, and all these other industries, or what you could call institutions and so forth, will be slowly dissolved, because you're going to see it through it. It's like you're going to be able to see behind the curtain now. And you see behind the curtain and say, okay, oh, this is what the game is. Do I need to play part of this game? Now that I can see it, how it operates, I can easily take it apart. Once you have an understanding, you can see what's really, then you could feel, do I want to participate or not participate? Right now, you almost don't feel that. You're just like, okay, this is what it is, and I have to keep playing with it. So it's really different in that aspect.
So things like a lot of people talk about police states, and you know, when you're traveling and you need to get those, you get checked. What is that body check now that they do? Body scans. Yeah. Is that going to be all different now?
Yes, it will change.
Okay.
It will change along the way.
So
yes.
our privacy, which seems to be getting more and more and more invaded, is going to lift.
Yes, and the thing is too, along that time, right now, as you go through these borders and so forth, it's hostile.
Yes,
in a sense.
yes,
it's
exactly.
very invasive.
Yes,
you're
yes.
walking in there, and it's like you're the criminal until you can prove yourself otherwise. And you're not even a human. You're just something. You can't even call it animal at this point, because we treat our animals sometimes a lot better. Not when we're looking at some other things, but you're now treating somebody as a terrorist. You've labeled them until you could prove yourself otherwise. So now you got to go through this scan. You got to get rid of all the your liquids and all this other stuff, and you have to go now. And if you don't go through the scan and you have something on you, or whatever, you need to be patted down or whatever it is until you can prove it. And then when you're gone, you're walking away. You're still, you can't be trusted along the way.
Yes.
That would change to a point where now it's human to human, where you're actually, when you're going through something of that nature, you see that they're just another facet of you, just you. And when I'm saying a facet, it's another human, it's another loving being just like you. You don't want to be harassed that way. You wouldn't want to do it that way either. So that consciousness will step in more and more and more, so then it'll be much more delicate of that. And then eventually it would even dissolve. Because if you really look at it, and it's interesting, because I've had this conversation before, and when I went to California, right, and going there was easy. It seemed like they just let me go through. I didn't have to just go through the metal detector. But coming back, like, you had to either go through that X-ray machine thing there, or you can opt out. Okay, but the opting out meant that it's an inconvenience. Now they have to call somebody in. They have to come there, and they have to explain what they're going to do.
So you're making a scene, really.
Yes, and then of course you get the choice. Either you have to go away somewhere in a booth and you get done, or you can do it in public. And I said, do it in public. I don't need to go hide. I have nothing to hide. So have fun, whatever. So, they're patting you down and whatever else, and trying to figure out where, if you're hiding anything, right? And, of course, I asked the question, well, how many terrorists do you ever find, right? He said, oh, you don't believe how many that we catch every day. And I said, what do they look like? I'd really like to know. Did they got bombs strapped to themselves and so forth? Oh, that's confidential. We can't talk about those things, type of thing. And it was, and you can tell that it's not true.
Yeah, they're just trying to justify.
They're just being told.
Yeah.
That, oh yeah, look how many we do. But as far as their view, they're programmed that everybody's a terrorist, or at least the potential of terrorists. And if you look a certain way, then you even get the banner lit up that you're terrorist material. So you even get treated more differently. But that stuff will all dissolve. And as we continue along, the whole thing about, you know, going in from one border to another, these borders will eventually dissolve, you know, along the way. We're not doing that in 2 years, for sure, but, you know, in the 4-6 years down the road, it's not about this country is this country and that's that country and we have all these laws and whatever else, and everybody, you know, you can't just cross. Those will change so you can move around more freely. Okay, and then the other part of the change is to the restrictions that we have, that we are locked up to have only certain modalities of energy and also health care, and the fact that we can't, you know, step outside the box. That will start to break down, so that in actual fact the holistic stuff will come about. There will be more technology and stuff that will come in to serve humanity, where, you know, we're going to create something that really serves. And it does not have to be tied to a monetary gain to somebody. While the money game is there, but it's not going to be like, I need to make a certain profit because of my shareholders or this or that, or I have to fluctuate the commodities because, you know, this is the game we want to play. That will not be prevalent at first, and then eventually just fade away along the way. So these are all the changes. But as you can see, the changes are always bringing us together. It's always about creating an environment. See, this is what the picture is going to look like. We're going to create an environment where everyone can be their true self, being themselves completely, no matter what there's not going to be any judgment that you do one thing and somebody else does something else, or I do something else. And it doesn't matter the color of your skin, the shape of your eyes. It doesn't matter any of that stuff, that you're male or female or anything of that nature. And we're not going to be, you know, creating rules for a protocol, what a woman in this country looks like, or has to act, or that one acts, or anything of that.
So no more stoning women, those kinds of things.
And they're allowed to be themselves. And then the other thing that changes too is that we're not going to, you know, like a woman right now, or a male too, they feel that they're compelled to play a specific role. Okay, and if they don't, they get categorized, you know. And they can be called a tramp or whatever it is, and a male can be talked a wussy or talk, you know,
yes, in
whatever.
Touch with his feminine side.
Yes, you know, and all it is just allowing whatever accentuates within themselves, but then they're not going to be categorized in that respect. So it's allowing everybody to be themselves at the same time, and the environment is there is no survival, there is no fear, there is no struggle, there is no lack. There is no limitation, confinements, and so forth, and we're not going to be, you know, taking advantage of one another in any way, shape, or form, because it will not feel natural at all. You wouldn't be able to do it as we go along. At that point in time, you will see as we go along, because this will, you know, by the time we get into 2017, where basically all the souls are going to be in fifth dimensional consciousness. Everything
17, I thought it was 15.
No. In 15, what happens is the planet shifts into fifth dimensional consciousness. Okay. All the souls that are ready will also.
Okay.
However, they're still going to be fourth dimensional consciousness beings. They have 2 years to get on board or also leave. So there's 2 stages that we're going through. Okay. So whenever you get into that, so in 2017 now, you basically, all the thirds and fourths are gone.
Okay.
You're basically, everybody's at fifth. And anyone that's reincarnated has already been prepped up to be in fifth. So now there's a more harmonious. So you're not going to have you're not going to still have stagnant energies still pulling you in a lower dimension.
Okay.
Okay. Because
we're in a transition state right now, so it's not going to be transition anymore. In 2017, it'll be all 5 or nothing.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay.
See, right now, the next 2 years, you're going to, of course, as you go along closer to the 2-year mark, it's going to be less and less.
Right.
You're stepping in. We step into fourth dimensional consciousness. But the percentage of third versus a fourth is still towards third. Right, but of course it's going to reduce.
Okay.
This will increase, this will decrease.
Yes.
And by the time we step into 2015, okay, and then we're going 15, 16. So in 15, basically there's no more thirds.
Okay, so now it's
but
fourth
now
and
we're going
fifth.
into fifth. Okay. But there's still going to be fourth. And of course the ratios are going to change again as you go along, okay. And then the fifth, and fourth will either shift into fifth or step out. And then when you're stepping into 17 now, everybody's fifth, and everything's fifth.
Now, can we talk a little bit about Mother Earth or Gaia? Okay, so at this point, Gaia is going into fourth. Well, she's already in fourth, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so she's just kind of waiting
Yes, it's
for the
purging
stragglers.
the rest of the third,
yeah.
fourth,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So she goes in. She's in fourth. So we go into fourth with her from the next 2 years, 13 and 14. As we move into 15, now it's going to be fourth and fifth. The people who do not go into 2015 as part of the fourth and fifth, do they go on to another Earth-like planet?
They have the same, either they tune themselves up, going through the light realms, and prepare themselves to come back as fifth.
Okay.
Or they go into another planet as fourth.
Okay. Okay. So now we have two other Earth-like planets. One's going to be 3D. One's going to be 4D. And then whoever goes 50 goes to 50. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But they're not Earth-like planets. There's only one Earth-like planet, like Earth.
Yeah, there's only one Earth. Each
that we
one
call
is
Earth.
slightly different. Yes,
Okay.
of course.
Okay.
Yeah, it is
Okay.
slightly different. Ours is quite unique. This particular planet is quite unique because it was actually designed to go from. It's a self-evolving planet, which is not very common. Okay, a self-evolving planet means it starts off at third dimensional and it was able to shift in its dimensions. And this one was designed to go up to ninth as programmed.
Okay.
However, we would have been in fifth and sixth by now without this shifting occurring, because if we were allowed in our natural state, if we did not take on that other program where the control structure came into place, we didn't allow that opposition to come into place, then we would have.
But we decided to detour. We decided to do that, right? So
you know, the thing is, the detour has actually made us even much grander because of the fact that we actually experienced a very intense polarity and a very intense experience. Look at how many people take on the challenge of, you know, doing something that's almost impossible task.
Yeah. Yes.
Because once you do it, you're feeling actually exhilarated that, wow, you know, I climbed Mount Everest, right?
Yes.
Which is something very difficult to do, right?
Yes.
It's just an example. But you know, you've done something. So here we are. We did come in a polarity world, but the polarities were stretched even further to once the control struck. But not only, it's like this. We were first swimming in thick water, but when we added this extra component of having that resistance, now first the water was thick and it was hard to move through it, okay, because we were swimming ourselves upstream. So, but now when that other part is, now there's a flowing stream against you. So now you're swimming against everything that's pushing you, and every time you stop a little bit, you're getting pushed back. Okay, so that's. But you become a stronger swimmer because of it.
That's a great analogy.
Right?
Yes.
You become a stronger and stronger swimmer, so that, you know, and now, of course, once we do the shift, you've now already built up a certain amount of stamina, whatever you want to call it. And
spiritual muscle. Spiritual muscle.
Yes, spiritual muscle. And now, of course, the stream is not pushing against you anymore.
Okay.
So you're going to move a lot quicker.
So you had mentioned, Franco, that Gaia was the program was to go right up through ninth dimension. Okay. Who created the program? Do you know who created the program?
Well, it was a collection of beings that you know. The way it works, if you understand how it works, I mean, Source is Source, okay? It is the ultimate creator, and
there's only one source.
Yes, which we are it, okay? Or at least facets of all of it, right? We're all strands of it. Now, what happens is when Source started creating, didn't create all this all at once. It basically created a certain amount of playgrounds with a certain amount of fragmentation of self. So it went through the evolutionary process, forgetting and then remembering. Once you remember, you now have Source consciousness, which some people call God consciousness, whatever. So Source consciousness. And some even talk about, you know, Jesus consciousness and all that stuff. But again, Jesus consciousness is one, love.
Right.
Okay. When you're talking about oneness consciousness, it's actually another step closer to even Source consciousness. Because
so oneness is higher than love?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
But then you can experience, with oneness, you basically
are
in
love.
all love.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
So that's the first thing, because that starts to bring the components together.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So if you want to really experience ultimate unconditional love, oneness is your precursor for the whole thing, right? It's the whole foundation of it.
Yes, makes sense.
But as Source, we are one.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So as Source had became back to Source again, it said, okay, we now have the creative ability. We're now conscious. We've already experimented. We now know how to create worlds. Let's go create some more. So instead of being in clusters, they go out and say, okay, I'm going to create a whole bunch of worlds here, and I'm going to create a bunch of worlds there, and each one goes out and creates a bunch of worlds. And then each one gets to fragment itself to the point it becomes, and then it goes through the enlightenment process, again re-enlightened, then it goes, now we have much more creators, more other creators, meaning
the family is growing.
We go, yes, exactly. We go to school to study science, okay? So you graduate, now you're scientists. Each scientist goes out and works for a different company to create. It's something like that. So now we have a creator. So we've been created, okay, or other planets have been created by other aspects of ourselves that have come to source consciousness or became the creator consciousness again. Okay. So when this particular planet was designed, it was a combination of a dozen different creators that came together and decided to take genetic species and bring it all together and create a new hybrid species, which was unique, and that's what these physicalities are, carrying DNA or genetic coding from different species, from different races. But they were just, so you can't turn around and say, well, who created us were just beings. There were beings, yes, but they were beings in source state of consciousness.
So do they
have that? They're the scientists, pretty much.
Do we have names, or do they have individuation, or are they just beings of light? Are they form themselves?
Most of them are all beings of light.
Okay.
Now, when they utilize the materials for the encodements, they of course taken on species from, you know, the Pleiadians, the Arcturians. They've taken it from.
So we have 12.
Yes, we have 12 species of genetic coding, or I call it 12 DNA. Each DNA is one of that. Now it actually has sub 2. There's actually 24 if you actually really look at it. I'm just showing 5 right now. But but then we have 5 primaries and 7 secondaries, meaning that we've taken on more of these 5. That we have more of the encodements from the 5. Can you name those 5, Franco?
Like
no, I don't.
Andromedans? Okay.
Well, we do, and I mean, we do have, of course, Sirian, we have Pleiadian. They're 2 of the main ones.
Okay. Andromedans?
Andromedans are part of them. There's quite a few of them. I don't recall on the mind level.
Okay.
Romulans?
Romulans.
But how about reptilians? Like, because we are reptilian in nature too, correct?
Yes, that was an implant that was done later. Yes, so we do have that part of it in us because of it.
Okay.
Now,
Anunnaki, are we part Anunnaki?
Yes.
Okay. Is that part of the 5? Do you know?
The lower one, no, it's not the 5.
It's the 7.
Yes.
So the 5 are the primary, the 7 are the secondary.
Yes. So we've used components of it, but it's not. It doesn't carry them as much. And then the different races we have on the planet here are just slightly different ratios.
So so a person who's Oriental would have a slightly different composition than somebody who's Scandinavian.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And that's why they present differently.
Okay.
Because the combination is slightly different. Now they still have all the same, but the ratios of them are a little different. And that was just to create variety.
Okay.
To create a variety. But in the nuts and bolts, the operating system is still pretty well all the same in a sense. So when these physicalities were done, of course, were to really be self-evolving. That's why, I mean, if you travel other beings, you know, a lot of beings are not in other planets, for example, other playgrounds, is not as exciting as this. Because if you look at planet Earth, for example, planet Earth, when it was created, was supposed to be the botanical garden, okay? And it was supposed, you know, if you look at it, all the species of plants, the species of animals, the species of oceanic insects and so forth, coming from other planets. And they were all put here because planet Earth, being at the center of the quadrant of the galaxy that we're in, was supposed to be the keeper of knowledge, was supposed to be the hard drive that kept all the experiences from all the other planets and create such a variety. And it was supposed to be a base station in a sense where other beings were coming in and going.
Like a computer hub, right?
Yes, exactly. So, and then of course they brought in all these species to create that beautiful variety. Of course, we wiped out a lot of them through certain actions, but anyways, there's a perfection to all of that. That can always be brought back in if necessary. And then, of course, they wanted to create the beings, the humanity that would be able to, or the physicalities that would be able to host all of that. And that's why when it was activated, it was, you know, it had the 12 DNA strands all activated with the telomeres and all that stuff going in. But then at the same time, we carry a lot of capability of experiencing in the physicality that other beings don't have. One of them being emotions, all the different levels of emotions, different levels of feel. We, of course, some of them we don't use, which is basically the tuning in. We were also designed to be connected to everything on the planet itself. For example, we would be able to feel what anybody's feeling with every movement of their energies. We can feel the animals. We can feel every blade of grass. We can feel every oceanic kingdom. You can feel the heartbeat of the Gaia itself and the energies. So you were basically, as everything was evolving, as everything is experiencing and learning, you had access to all of that. So that's how you became. And then, of course, the other receptors were that we were also streaming down light codes and also consciousness from all our brother sister souls from our galaxy, and there's 400 of them, you know. And
400 galaxies or 400?
No, 400 other planets from our quadrant of galaxies that are somewhat in our quadrant of links, right?
Okay.
So we would be able, now of course the ones that are closer we would have the closest connection with.
Okay.
And we would be able to just, you know, learn from them, and they learn from us. You know, it was just a beautiful energetic exchange, right? So we were like really connected. We're the hub of all this stuff streaming, and it was just, and our physicality could feel that and learn from it. So the souls coming here was going, wow, this is like awesome. This is like the ultimate, because even traveling on other planets, and I have a recollection to it, none of them is exciting as here. None of it is, you know, is great. And we're not even experiencing a fraction of it from its original design.
Wow.
So part of this change that we're going through, part of this transformation that we're going through, we're going to reactivate those capabilities. But not only reactivate it, it's going to be accentuated because of the fact we are much more advanced. Not only us, but all the galaxy and the universe.
Okay, so as we advance, they advance.
Yes. Okay. Now, the thing is, and we might not have the time to explain all of that.
We've got 3 minutes, Franco.
3 minutes.
I'm sorry.
Okay, we can't go there. That's fine. But the thing is, we have been disconnected to that. But that reconnection will occur. This is the short version. The reconnection will be, and then we will be having much more exchange, which we're not now. We're kind of, because of this superimposed matrix that was created, we've been disconnected from our natural design matrix, and we can talk about that next time if we want.
This would be a perfect segue to talk about that in December 18th for our next show for Crossing the Threshold Part 2. That would be wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And Franco, this has been great to do this today. So we're looking forward to that one more show with you on December 18th, which is 3 days
But I think
before.
we've covered so much information today. I think we've just pretty much covered everything. I think we're ready for 2012.
Okay.
2013. I think we're ready.
We'll keep our fingers crossed that I'm functional then, because I do a lot of work outer realms.
Okay.
And
so you might not be here?
I might not be able to function in the physicality, and I've already had to do that a few times now, where I'm gone for extended period of time. A few days where I'm in an altered state, don't come out for periods of time. And I've already been warned that around the 12th, this is going to step up. So and I've already got a taste of it in the end of October.
Okay.
So
is this exciting for you?
It's very how can I say it? It's very intense. It's very challenging. It takes a real beating on the physicality, that's for sure, because the last one I did was 3 days straight.
So you're basically looking like you're in a coma, your body is?
Yes, basically.
And you're gone. Okay, so you're not eating, you're not doing anything in the physical.
Yes. And even in the break in between that I had, which was little tiny pockets of it at that point in time, you couldn't even ingest anything or do anything because you weren't even coherent enough to actually function.
Yes.
And you're still at work, but the body now is able to move temporarily to do a bathroom thing or whatever it was, but in general. But then when you came out of it, the body's in complete shock, and it's also bed sore too, because you basically haven't been able to move most of the time.
Wow.
So. But the work that's being done is quite amazing. It's quite intense, and the body has to stay as the link, because it is the link to the planet.
What are you doing?
I don't know what the stuff. Right now, there's a lot of reprogramming coding because there's source encodements that come in that have to be modified and prepared for humanity and their shift, right? So and also I'm streaming the codes that are coming from 12th from source from 12th dimension, 9th, 6th, and then bringing it into 3rd to prepare for 4th. So basically, we're creating the stage for everything to make the transition into 4th very smooth. Okay. So that's what is happening. And part of the work I was doing was streaming light realms or light streams, or what we call it. There was a weaving process. I called it weaving because you were just basically streaming light at tremendous speeds. And I was actually quite shocked when I was doing it. And I asked the beings that I was working with at the time, and I say, why so fast? I mean, this is like 100 times light speed, if not more, 1,000 times more than light speed. And they said because the dark energies are trying to take it down. So at this pace, they can't move because they're carrying too much density in a darker energy. So that's why I had to stream. Because you're streaming right back down, and then you're like weaving the planet, and then you're streaming back out, and it's such tremendous speeds.
Are you doing this by yourself, Franco? Like, are you the only human doing this?
I'm the only one doing that particular job, but there are others that are channeling energies and doing other work, so it's not. And then there are also beings that are helping. But again, there is a specific work that I do that is very key for whatever it is. And when I'm saying this, it's not Franco, okay? It's the soul that's doing it, okay? The body is still used as the link. It's the key. I have to ask, why is my mind and body still involved with this? And they go, it's the key. That's the only way we have access to the human state. Because because I say, well, can I evolve my physicality 4th and 5th? At least they were aligned to that. I mean, my energy is working at 6 to 9, and meanwhile, I'm here, still in the 3D world. He says, well, if you unplug from the 3, you're going to lose connection to the bulk of the people that need the work that we're doing anyways.
So the work that you're doing, Franco, is it for humanity or is it for Gaia? I know we have to go.
It's for humanity and Gaia. But mainly humanity. Because humanity is the part that needs it the most.
Because Gaia can do this on her own, really.
Gaia is already doing it, and has been doing it for a while. But in this case, what happens is, how it affects Gaia is that if we stay in our locked up energy, we don't allow Gaia to move forward as easily, because what happens is it still tries to accommodate us, so it doesn't extinguish us in a sense where it creates the energy so awkward that it actually allows the bodies to falter. And that's why when it shifts into 4th dimension consciousness and it's already there, it's not going to be all one heavy stomp, because then it will really create a havoc.
It would be a shock to our system.
3/4% of the population will be in total shock. I mean,
they'd probably surge out and die.
So it's basically going to go in stages along the way. It's going to support us. It loves us. It's our mother, in a sense, if you want to call it that. If you talk, the mother's not going to just say, okay, you're going to learn how to walk, boom, pulls you out and throws you on the floor. It's going to nurture you along the way, but you're going to learn how to walk. You're going to do it. You're going to do it.
That's a great perspective to end the show, I think, because there's a lot of people that are in environmental and thinking in terms of the environmental problems, and they think that we are a disease or a parasite on the planet. So to leave people with the idea that the earth is our mother and looking after us and supporting it, I think is going to make people feel better about.
Listen, forward. If it really wasn't there to play that role, it would have dumped us a long time ago.
She has. All you have to do is look at Hurricane Sandy to know that, right?
Look at it this way: you have a child that is a handful, I guess, or a very intense experience with it. The mother still loves it regardless, and it's not going to turn around and say, "Well, you're evil. I'm going to just exterminate you now." Type of thing. It's going to work with you until that's what our planet is doing. It's working with us.
So maybe next time, if you are here, we can talk a little bit more about some of the work you are doing and anything that you've learned as a result of doing that too, because that's so fascinating.
Yes, I usually don't get into that because it's too far-fetched for people. So
not for us.
Well, I know for you. But
the world will be ready, Franco.
We'll see. Okay.
Okay, so before we go, Franco, is there a website if people want to follow up with you further?
Yes, it's www.francodenicola.com. So Franco is Franco, and then DeNicola, no space, it's all still one word, DeNicola. NICOLA.com.
Now, you also mentioned that you were starting to do your own blog talk radio program.
Yes, through CE Group, which is Collective Evolution. They have their shows that they're doing, and I've created one show with them. I created one show on my own, and basically it gives the opportunity to go with no limits whatsoever, and people can ask questions. So I will be doing talking, and people will ask questions, and I will give them the answers. This is to facilitate. So there's no restrictions based on the host. You guys are awesome, of course, excellent, because you're really open to this stuff. But not all of my interviews are that way. So I wanted to create no restrictions here.
Beautiful.
And so that's the first one. The first episode was last Sunday at 8 o'clock. The replays are up, so you can go in there and listen to the replay. The next one is this Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Both of them are Eastern Time. We may switch it over to Thursday evening, depending on what the consensus are of the people, because I'm trying to make it as feasible as possible. The first two I couldn't do on a Thursday because I'm not available either one. But after these two, there's going to be 1 week there won't be any. And then I'm hoping to keep still going, depending on my work. Then we can shift it to Thursdays if that's beneficial.
So we can find it if we go to blogtalkradio.com and look up Franco DeNicola on the website?
Or if you can go on my website, we'll be posting it in the events.
In the events
category too. And CE Group, Collective Evolution, will also be posting, and they also do interviews with other. But in my case, it'll be myself and Kimberly will be the monitor and asking the questions, because people will type in the questions, or they can go live too, because we will have the opportunity for somebody, because if you call in, we can patch you in so you can ask the question live.
So is Kimberly being your technical
Yes,
hand?
she's been programmed to do that.
Excellent.
My son,
Thank you, Kimberly.
My son showed her how to set it up and so forth.
Good for her.
So he's coming back this Sunday just to make sure. But he stayed for the whole show in the last one, but the next one he's going to only stay for the beginning to see if she gets on track properly. And then
the training wheels are off.
The training wheels are off.
Awesome. That sounds great, that you're actually going to talk about whatever it is you talk about and no restrictions. That's amazing.
Whatever people want. I mean, it's
because it's where we're at, right?
What people need to know. Because the thing is, there's a lot of challenges coming up right now and confusion, because there's a lot of conflicting information. There's a lot of channeled information and so forth that are not always 100%. And some of them are designed to still promote fear and stuff like that. We're not, we're stepping out of survival. We're not about, going into a panic or anything of that nature. It is really, for us to get to a certain level where we can just sail through the thing, move through it. If we need some bumps and bruises to get us going, that's fine. But, this whole stuff of, all the disasters and stuff like that, and all the fear that's created and the hype of it, and all the movies that have been directed, all around that, is not there for it to be truth, because a lot of the stuff that would have played out has been cleared. We've done a lot of work in the backside for years now to clear up a lot of the stuff.
Wow, wonderful. That's really positive.
Okay, that's it for the show. Thanks, Franco.
Thank you, Franco.
Hopefully on the 18th. Good luck with everything. Okay, Sandra, thanks for doing this.
Awesome.
And we'll see everybody else tomorrow for more Liquid Lunch right here at ThatChannel.com.